Hello and welcome back to another episode of One Kick from Glory. I'm joined as always by Matthew. On my right, we've got some exciting things to talk about this week. North London is red. You knew that already. We're still top of the league. And Liverpool were the latest team to get hit by the Arsenal resurgence. You know, starting off on that note, I guess we'll address the most immediate game, Arsenal-Liverpool game. We're going to go back to talk about the North London derby as well today. But for you, Matthew, going into that game, knowing the history of the Arsenal-Liverpool results over the last few years, knowing how much this game in particular meant to Arsenal and the result of this game would have been seismic. How did you feel looking into it as a neutral?
It was a very significant game which has spanned over a good few years now because you've gradually seen since Wenger's left, kind of coincided that when the likes of Klopp came in, the younger, more digital managers, Wenger was still kind of there, but you could kind of see that there was a new kind of force coming along, more younger, digital, more forward-thinking managers. So that overtake was coming from a very long time, but now you've joined the party with your new younger digital manager in Mikel Arteta. They've been banging away at him, saying he's no trust the process, he's our guy, he can do this, he can do that. Obviously, the FA Cup one, I'll go back to it, but nearly 3 years ago now, has cemented that. And now, again, this season, last season you were so close to getting to Champions League despite losing your first 3 games. I think you're only a point away from finishing. But this time around, the way you started the season and pre-season, just hitting the ground running, everyone in harmony, all the getting certain players back, getting in big-time players that you've done that you needed, like headline names. This was a time the fact that Liverpool haven't seemed to found their feet, this was the perfect time. It was going to be a very interesting game for a lot of fans, because I hate to admit it, because I was one of them for a while. I wasn't willing to give the credit that it was due for a very long time. In fact, you know what? From when you turned us over 4-0 in pre-season, I was just like, well, this might be an issue. You might have, I'm not saying necessarily your league fight has arrived, but your fight has arrived. You're there to be taken seriously. So whatever came from this game, especially if you won, which eventually you did, would have been a massive shock to the system, to the whole of the Premier League, and definitely put you guys on notice for how the season could play out. And we've even had 10 games. So it's going to be very interesting with the World Cup in the middle and how we come out of it, just to see where you guys are going to be at the beginning and at the end.
Yeah, I mean, this coming weekend, this week of fixtures, as you're listening, is the 10th fixtures of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how things pan out, as you said, going forward. But yeah, I think for me, the good signs were there from preseason. I was saying, they always say, and this is one thing Arsene Wenger's kind of always says, like preseason's a time for fitness and fine-tuning stuff. It's not really, you don't really cast aspersions on preseason too much because it can be very premature. But I know, looking at last season's preseason with Arsenal, it just didn't quite look and feel right. Something seemed a bit off. This year's preseason, there was a lot more cohesiveness in the plan. Even the thing one thing I love that Arsenal do, Arsenal.com do, they do a bench cam. I think most clubs do a bench cam now, but I love how Arsenal's do it, especially now because we know the results are going really well. But watching the bench cam of the derby in particular, and even the Liverpool game, what's really fascinating for me is the change in how Mikel Arteta manages from the touchline. Last season, you couldn't let a second pass without seeing him be pointing, directing, moving, cajoling, conducting the whole show. Like, he was micromanaging beyond belief for 90 minutes last season. This season, especially in those 2 big games, he didn't. He was still on the touchline. He was watching, but he wasn't given as many instructions. He was speaking sparingly, but when it was needed, and that's been a testament to how the players have taken on board what he's been trying to do these last few years. How having a different, the caliber of players we brought in this summer, and how they've helped raise the level of the squad. But most importantly of all, it's just it's now second nature. So he doesn't have to tell them, calm down, pass out from the back, do this, do that. It's more like, okay, look, just reset. It's little things, little tactical things. You'll get them to tweak, but we're reaping the rewards from it. But yeah, like you said, Liverpool game, massive game. I think a lot of people said after we beat Palace, not that impressive. Some other teams this season have struggled to beat Palace. I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are. a lot of the results we've had, it's like, is it that impressive? I'm not really sure. But these 2 games back to back, we can't deny that they are a statement wins. Now, caveat it, Liverpool have been out of shorts this season, but it's still Liverpool. Even I was, I think I said to someone at the weekend prior, I was like, I think it'll be like a 3-1 scoreline. I wasn't really sure which way, but I felt like it was going to be like at least 3 goals would be scored. I knew Arsenal wouldn't keep a clean sheet. I just knew it because just the nature of, just Liverpool. They can be out of sorts, but they're still Liverpool. They're a dangerous outfit. And, they came into this game out of form, but they knew it was the Emirates, they knew it was Arsenal. They knew that they could get something out of us. But I think what was really impressive for me is how well we started. That first goal, which was a slight mistake from Saliba, and he almost got caught out. They had a good tactic of trying to targeting him and targeting Gabriel. They wanted to kind of pressurize them and see if they could make mistakes. So they put a ball in behind for Saliba. He tried a little turn. Luckily, he got the good bounce with it. He kind of almost lost the ball and just managed to scrum away from the tackle and started that attacking pattern, got the ball to Odegaard, a wonderful ball out. So, I saw a break, nice ball to Martinelli, and he slotted it away. And I think just the way how the front 4, I'll say, have been performing this season. Odegaard behind them, but Saka, Martinelli, and Gabriel Jesus, you can't put a price on it. I think for you watching, because I know with Gabriel Jesus is a player that you guys were looking at getting, I think, it's just fortunate he came to North London, to Arsenal. But like for you, looking at that Arsenal front 4, that unit, how impressed are you with how they're performing?
You know what? I want to shout out to one player who've always kind of he's annoyed me in the past, but he's really come to his own in the moment, and that's Martinelli.
Yeah,
he has stepped up, especially in the games where, like in the Europa League, where he might be more likely to start over the likes of Jesus and even playing in the likes of Nketiah. It just seems like he's matured in some sort of way from where he was the last 2 seasons to where he is now. More goal involvements, better on the ball, more aware. He's keeping his fitness touch wood is staying where it needs to be at the moment, because I know he's quite injury prone. And yeah, he's just active. He's he's still young. He's like 2021. Active. And I think now is with another active live player in like Jesus with experience, with a winning mentality. It's almost like the kind of Samba Brazilianness, if it's that thing, is rubbing off on how they play together. Because we in the international team with the World Cup, there might be a kind of a communication there that we might not know about, and we might probably will see it come in the next month's time. So they're definitely rubbing off from each other, and it's definitely really working really well. Jesus is relishing the top dog role, which I think is what he's always wanted from Man City. And here now he's able to kind of be the guy, the man. So for all the time at City, he might have been winning the trophies. He wasn't the guy. He's now the guy, the number 9, wearing that red shirt. He's happy as Larry at the moment. And, you got to keep him happy, keep him fit, keep him on job. And you're looking at a 15, 20 plus goal striker that we know he can be. But even also like Saka, I mean, in the international games, back when playing the Nations League, the difference when he came on in England games, where he would come on and make and just give an absolute result to England. It's the same thing with Arsenal. And I think as recording tonight, he was the winning goal in your Europa League game. He's playing on it's not like, when he got that award, I think it was for England Player of the Year, hasn't seemed to affect him in any way. He's riding on a very good wave, which compared to this time last year after the Euros, it's almost like you could see that it affected him. Yeah. I just don't think he wanted to I think he's trying to, brush it off. But as a 19-year-old, as a boy, it's going to take time. I think now it's trying to see, it's like he's gotten over it. He's worked for it. He's justifying his place on that team, even though he's a shoo-in to go. So they're all playing, at harmony at the moment, and they trust the manager in exactly what he's saying. I will make it interesting though, because I saw a fly on the wall team talk. He definitely lost because he was effing and blinding Mikel Arteta, and he saw like how all the players around they weren't sulking, they weren't trying to justify any excuses. They were all quiet and they were all listening, thinking like, yeah, we have messed up. And I think them listening to that and taking that, and him being so blunt and expressive, has allowed them to kind of recuperate and become better. For this season, your front three. Especially your front three are on absolute jolly right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's been really, I think that's definitely one of the episodes from All or Nothing. But I think what's really, really interesting in terms of like what the players have said off the back of last season, and even echoing what you're saying about Arteta and like him being able to lay on law with them and then taking it in really well, is that they all have expressed how disappointed they were with how the season ended, not making our target of top 4 and failing in that sense. And the fact that is firing them up for this season. I know Erdegaard said it in interviews, I know Xhaka said it himself, and I think you're seeing it on the pitch. Like going to that Liverpool game, we went 1-0 up, got pegged back by, unfortunate bit of defending, ball over the top. Gabriel tried to cut it out, missed, didn't quite get the right touch, fell to Diaz, because Nunez was offside behind Gabriel, but he just wanted to cut the ball out. Fell to Diaz. Diaz puts across a brilliant ball, and to his credit, Nunez, great finish. Gets in ahead of Saliba and dinks it past Ramsdale into the net, 1-1. Nice little crying celebration. Who's crying now? But anyway, say that, but Nunez, remember that feeling? Just reload it on Sunday. But yeah, so that was the first thing that happened. And then, but then I think what I really love about this Arsenal team is just like the difference in attitude, not just from the players, but the crowd. There was initial, I've conceded. But then immediately, come on, like the cheering, like it's almost like, okay, we conceded the goal, whatever. All right, we conceded the goal.
Take on my chin.
Anyway, it's like it's not holding us back. Like the fans aren't allowing it to. The player makes a mistake. Gabriel had a bad 10 minutes. He was a bit off by his 10. And he's had a few of those last couple of games, and some fans are a bit concerned. But we're playing at a higher level now, and that's why these individual off performances are being more highlighted. As the team develops and goes up to another level, you'll see it more. But we never let that moment affect us. We kept battling away, pushed on, got the goal to make it 2-1. Nice little finish for Saka. And then you're like, 2-1 at half time, happy days. Firmino comes off the bench, does what he does best, gets a goal. And again, both of the goals Liverpool scored, good bit of play from them, bit of sloppy defending from Arsenal, probably better positional play from Saliba, definitely better positional play from Gabriel for the first one. But again, we came back with more gusto. And I think, those are probably the two best chances Liverpool had, and probably the only real chances they had in the whole game, which says a lot about how well we played. Ramsdale made a few good saves here and there, but they didn't really feel like they were stressing us.
You were solid, you were disciplined.
We were solid. I mean, let's talk about Mohamed Salah. I mean, he's bagged a hat-trick in the Champions League, the fastest hat-trick in history, Champions League. Congratulations. I am so glad that your shooting boots have returned 2 days later than maybe you'd anticipated, but as an Arsenal fan, it's for the good. And I hope you remember that feeling again for Sunday. But there were a lot of concerns about him. The fact he was taken off by Klopp for Fabinho, which is a bizarre sub when you think about it. But I mean, looking at, Salah's season, and we'll do like a little analysis of it right now, like even keep taking into account the Rangers game, because it feels like this is now the kickstart of him getting back into gear. But do you think that there were legitimate concerns to be had about his season so far?
Well, for last season, he kind of peaked and troughed a little bit, because I remember he was all of the rage at the start of last season, and then he kind of he was still there, but kind of petered out. Maybe it's part of a longer thing in between the break of when the Premier League ended from May all the way up to August. So maybe it's kind of a bit on a downward spiral. I mean, he's 30 now. He's 30, almost the wrong side of 30. If anyone's going to take him now, it's probably going somewhere in Spain, Italy. I'm not going to say America, but I don't know. It's just maybe it's a case of people being used to his game. Maybe he's trying to adjust to a new partnership that he has. He's going to have to get used to not playing every single game, and last night was a clue of that. He didn't start against Rangers. He came on and still very, very effective, but he's going to have to get used to being he's not going to be starting every single game. Diaz, Nunez, Carvalho, Jota, they are there to eventually, unfortunately, as good as you are, happens to the best of us, they're eventually there to kind of phase you out to the point where you might become something of like a squad player for certain games, and they'll only have you for certain games, like the Arsenal game. But I personally thought he was marshalled really well on Sunday. You kind of had him. Yes, they tried to target Saliba. He was having none of it. He's like a Rolls Royce. He looks so good, so calm. But obviously, the real one people are really looking for is the big H, the Brock Lesnar of football. That's gonna be the one that people really want to talk about. Arsenal Man City is gonna be like WrestleMania, honestly. But Yeah, I think he's just part of the system now, and the whole team is aging. It's a whole very aging team. I mean, even Firmino he's aging as well. You know, Mane was aging before he even left. So I just think they're part of a very aging system that's tired. They've gone gun ho for the last. Well, they won the league in 2020, and had a bit of a dip last year, and they went gun ho in 4 competitions last year. Let's not beat around the bush. Plus AFCON, they got to the finals of AFCON. Pushing for every single competition you can go for, international league, whatever it is. It could be just knackered. He could be just knackered. I was feeling like they're relying a lot solely on him. He's reaching the limits of what he can actually do.
And there's also the argument of, you know, since they've signed Nunes, they're probably adapting their style of play as well. So he's having to adjust how he plays in the team and kind of get used to being in different positions, maybe different starting areas. But ultimately, I think with all teams, you go through cycles. And I mean, I don't think Liverpool are gone. I think it's just a bit of a dip. And like I said, he scored 7 goals against Rangers. Like, he got a hat trick. You know, I think it's the great result for them. And like I said again, Sunday's coming up. You got Manchester City. I think it's away, isn't it? At the Etihad. Man City away. Not asking for a lot. I'm just asking for you to do what you can do, what you know you can do.
Try not to lose.
3 points. It's not a large ask. 2-1 victory. Haaland can get 1 goal for those FPL fans out there, but that's it. That's all we need, really. That's all we want. Not asking for too much, Liverpool. Just a little win. Cheeky win. But yeah, so I think that's been the positive thing with Arsenal. It's like, you know, yeah, we've been on a great run. And like I said with Salah, I think he can kick on now from that game. You use that feeling. I don't think he's forgotten how to score goals. I don't think anything like that. But I just use that feeling of getting those 3 against Rangers and kick on from it. We're going to talk about you guys real quick, and then we'll come back to end on a North London derby. Since Thomas Tuchel was sacrimoniously kicked out, we've learned actually today that he turned down a few jobs in the Premier League. A few clubs have won them.
Spain as well, yeah.
And Spain. Apparently he's holding up for the England job. Now, if he has information that we don't know, we would gladly like to hear it. So Thomas, if you're listening, I don't know if you would listen to this, but if you are listening to this, we would love to hear your thoughts on, you know, managing England at the World Cup, you know, because we desperately need something different. Gareth Waistcoat is not the one. But yeah, Potter's come in. I think you got a nice win against Wolves. You've had a bit of a slow start to him coming in his reign, but that's understandable. He's got to get used to the players. They've got to get used to him. How are you feeling with Graham Potter as manager, and how do you feel about that game?
I'm feeling good at the moment. Like, that since he's been in, I think it's 4 wins, 1 draw, not conceding as much. The things that we were asking for, he's kind of already doing. Chopping and changing the team every single time, so everyone gets to go, everyone gets to shine. He gets to see exactly what he's working with. So you're never going to see the same team twice. So in between, on the outside of the Wolves game, we had Milan twice. Now, the Milan's a tough game. They're top of Serie A. They were Serie A champions from last year. Not an easy task. We put them to the sword. 5 goals in 2 games. Ain't going to complain about that at all. So as for the Wolves game, quality stuff. No stress. I was relaxed, even with the likes of Costa returning, but it's not the Costa that we left behind all those years ago. Shout out to Broja for getting his goal. Fantastic goal as well. Lovely little take, full of energy. He's like an Energizer bunny. Just if he keeps fit, and if we could give him some chances, if he could just bag a little bit more, I would happily lead in the front line. I really, really would love him to lead.
Touching on that note, do you think that Broja adds more to your front line than Aubameyang does?
Purely because he's younger, and I think he's more part of the folds, and he's just constantly running, trying to chase the nearest thing possible. I would say that he does, but Aubameyang's got that experience. He's played in the Premier League.
And he's scoring.
When you put him on most of the time, he scored on Tuesday.
Yep.
He scored against Milan, I think the previous week as well. He scored against Palace, and he scored against Wolves. When you put him on, he scores. I know he's a bit of a prima donna, and, you know, one contribution to your dressing room, at least, is that losing him has seemed to have changed the mood for you guys massively. Fortunately, when he comes to this club, he's going to realise that he's not the ego there. He's not the only ego there. We are the same club that got Mourinho fired on multiple occasions, and Thomas Tuchel after winning the Champions League. So, if he's going to realise where his ego fits in that hierarchy. But I'm happy because he's not playing the same players all of the time. He's having the courage to drop certain players that maybe do need to be dropped for rest and just to realise that where they rank in the grand scheme of things. So dropping the likes of Havertz, dropping the likes of Mount, dropping Mendy has been a big one, but so far Kepa's been doing the job. We've always known he's been a good keeper. In his first year, I think he managed to get into the top 3, good shot stopper, good penalty saver. I think his confidence just waned for far too long when under Lampard and under Tuchel as well. I'm not saying that Mendy will never play again, but you spend the best part of £77 million on the player, you kind of have to play her. Plus, he's technically still almost like the first choice. And we're not conceding as much. Injuries come through, not really much of an issue, especially in the case of the wing-backs, our defence. So, first 5 games with Mr. Potter, I must say that I'm really pleased. Really, really pleased.
Let's talk about Mendy, because Mendy wasn't dropped under Tuchel, was he? No, it's just under Potter. So, obviously, he's had a bad run of form
since AFCON.
He's not come back the same. And obviously, you know, Kepa's back in, as you said. You know, he technically has been the first choice. He's got the number 1 shirt, literally and also figuratively. But you know, I think it's always interesting with players when they go out of form and they get dropped by a manager and they're trying to rebuild them. Like, what do you think, looking at, you know, what Kepa's doing well and what Mendy did really well initially, where do you think it's gone wrong, and how can Potter help to rebuild his game again?
Well, if I'm not too mistaken, I think Mendy, when he first came up, he had a really kind of late bloom to football. So all of his success in a very short space of time, getting to the top 4 of a Premier League competition, multiple cup finals, Champions League win, Super Cup win, Club World Cup win. He won AFCON, riding on an absolute high. I think he was one of the best keepers for at least the first half of the season. You can't say anything other than it going to his head and feeling like he was indestructible. Not all entirely his fault. The defence made some absolutely comical errors and nothing really changed from that back four. Tuchel was just adamant of sticking with the same defenders all the time. So his defence didn't give him that much away of confidence. But even when we started a new season and we got the likes of Cucurella in, Fofana and Koulibaly, the same mistakes seemed to just keep on rearing their ugly head. And at any point, another team would score in most games, you knew the other team would score first. We might score again, but they'd score first. So even the games like, we played Southampton, we lost. When we played likes of Leicester, West Ham, they scored first. I just think that Kepa was unhappy for a very, very long time. Very, very long time. But Potter's known to do this, where he sees a keeper that he knows has quality and is like giving them that arm around to kind of show them that you're still wanted in the team. I think he's only conceded 2 goals since arriving, and that was against Salzburg and Palace. And the last few games, they're clean sheets all the way. So clearly something he's doing is working. I mean, he did it at Brighton when we had Matt Ryan, put in Sanchez instead. And he clearly has seen in Kepa and thought, there is a good keeper in there. And he's been here for a good while, so he didn't become a bad keeper overnight. So, I mean, but he's doing it. It was a change that needs to be happening and a risk that we needed to take. Because Mendy was getting, I hate saying this because I love the guy, but he was getting too relaxed. Havertz too relaxed. Mount was too relaxed, especially those main ones. And now look, they're different players all over again. Absolutely different. So, and I'm happy that Aubameyang's scoring as well. So there's a bit more of a harmony at the moment. So keep on it.
And I think that's important. I think, at Arsenal, we've seen the importance of having squad harmony. We've seen the importance of being able to, utilize maximizing the strength in players, players that might have seen like their days were over. In Granit Xhaka, for example, now you're looking at him and he's one of our key players week in, week out. He's always performing to a high level and just playing really, really well. Talking about squad harmony, I want to touch on one more player from your squad, and then we'll move on to a man who we really need to talk about because he is just a problem. Reece James. Now, obviously, we were talking about Gareth Southgate earlier in England and everything, and obviously there's this big debate about the World Cup coming up. In terms of who's going to be the starting right back. At the moment, I think all 3 of them are technically injured right now in Trent, James and Walker.
Yeah.
We've got Trippier, who would now slot in. But putting that to one side, for you, why should Reece James be not only going to the World Cup, but the starting right back for England?
Defensively, he's better. Defensively, he's always been better than Trent. And this is something that's always been known because Trent has always relied on better defenders kind of around him to kind of, come on, he's got Virgil van Dijk next to him. He's got all the confidence in the world that if he messes up, Virgil's going to be there. But what he's realizing now is that primarily you are a defender. And you see a lot of the goals they concede, he's kind of involved in it. Not a knock against him, but I always think that you can play both players in that team. You just have to adjust their position just a little bit differently. I would keep Reece James as the core right back, but Trent, when he goes forward, different player. Make him the wing back. So that way you can have a back three, of Reece James on one side, Shaw or Chilwell on the other, and someone in the middle, preferably Don Maguire, preferably not. But there, and then at least on the right wing back side, you can have Trent. His dead balls are ridiculous. We can't take that away from him.
The other option, which I've seen people talk about because it makes sense, considering what looking at the great example of Philipp Lahm and what he did at Bayern when Guardiola took over, and his successor at Bayern, it could move him into midfield like Joshua Kimmich.
I've been saying this. I mentioned this quite a few times. I think his qualities are there. He's not as interested in defending as he is going forward. His qualities are going forward. His dead balls, his shooting, his running, his vision, everything that he thinks, he's always looking to take that ball forward. And let's be honest, he's good at free kicks. He's good at corners. I think he's quicker than Reece James. Reece James is not slow, but he's quicker than Reece James. There is a space for both. You just have to move one, keep one there, and have one in front. This is one of a forward-thinking, more maverick and more adventurous coach. I think we'll probably see that. Because you've seen that before where you've had players had to adapt to different positions. When Rafa Benitez came to Chelsea, and one of the most maverick moves he made was moving David Luiz from defence to midfield. Yep. And he was bagging goals. We saw his potential. He was, especially in the run to Europa League, he was scoring crucial goals. I'll never forget that one he scored against Fulham from like 35 yards, just lashed into it. The same could be applied. And come on, Gareth Bale. They moved him forward. You can do, I'm telling you, you can do the same with this fella. And if anything, he'll probably get better. But, with safety Southgate, I don't know if he'll do. He's got all the right backs in the world and he won't know how to use them. Why not try that at the Nations League where we had really nothing to lose? We're getting relegated. If you're going to play both, at least try something a little bit more interesting. That's why we were so easy to beat. You never changed the team. It was so predictable. And that's, with the abundance of talent we have right now in every position, it frees up space for other players to come and try and fold in. I mean, if one player that should be a consideration right now is James Maddison. He's on mad crazy form. So there is Reece James, I'm always going to say defensively he's better. Always. He's smarter. He's more alert. And I think when it comes to being the defensive, he's more versatile. But going forward, there's no argument from Trent. So...
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. I think there is a way to fit them both in, as you said, and I think Gareth needs to kind of be a bit more adventurous in his thinking. I can only imagine what Gareth's order would be at Nando's if we were ever to go there with him.
Plain. Plain.
But yeah, let's move on to the man who is redefining what it means to be a top striker in this Barclays Premier League, Mr. Erling Haaland.
Brock Lesnar of football.
The Brock Lesnar of football. I guess to begin with, did you see him doing this when he came over, and where do you think he ranks now, as it is now, as the of the strikers in the league right now? Where would you rank him? But let's start off with this. Did you think he would do this when he first came over?
Not in 9 games. I thought at least 15, more into double figures. He's got double figures in single digit games. As far as where he ranks as, the strikers currently right now, he's definitely up there with the likes of him, best in form. He's back-to-back hat tricks. Every goal involvement they have, he's just there. I think he's scoring in every other game, if not every game, like it matters. I mean, he's a shoe-in to score because his skill set, his attributes. I mean, the guy can literally do, like Brock Lesnar, when he first broke on the scene, could do everything. He was quick. He was strong. He was smart. He was creative, but he would play his role into the team really, really, really well. There is literally nothing. It's almost like what this man can't do. And like when Brock first broke on the scene, he was young. He was fearless. His hunger. Could you imagine if he were them for England? He could play for England. He was
That's
born.
true.
He was born in England technically, but the Norwegian thing is all good. But I did not expect this. I knew he'd bag. But I did not see it in less than 10 games for him to have 14, 15 goals. What's the end of the year going to look like, providing he stays fit and doesn't get injured, or people start conning onto his game? I don't know, but I don't think it really matters because he pushes the boat that little bit more. Just when you think you have him figured out, he does something like mad freaky, like in that Champions League game, like playing Tekken at the same time,
Right.
and just keeps you guessing. I mean, it's like I don't know, it's like chasing that mysterious bad boy. He just keeps upping the game, so you can't keep up.
I saw a tweet from Alan Shearer this week, earlier today actually, and I have to ask you about this because I find it. Alan Shearer, you're a Premier League legend and you're probably slightly biased as well. But he turned around and said that, with all those good things that Haaland is doing, he thinks that if you put Kane in Man City team, he would do the same thing. I'm sorry. I don't think Kane is scoring half the type of goals. Don't get me wrong. I think Kane would bag in Man City's team. I think he'd score a lot of goals. I don't think he'd score the types of goals that Haaland has been getting.
Haaland's a freak. And it's good. I think Kane, even on his best day, still not getting, because he's not as dynamic as him. He's not even dynamic as Son. He's not even as dynamic as Son. With if you look, especially in most recent games, as much as you want to try Harry Kane to score the goals, he's looking for Son just as much as anybody else. So, and I've said it again, this was what the concept of the Champions League all them years ago. If they didn't start Kane, just kept with Son, I think they're winning it. But now he's just good as Harry Kane is. I genuinely do think he's going to be going off that Premier League record because he can do it. It's like I said, the variety, the diversity of goals that Haaland is scoring, just it's like he's pushing. He's following the veins of maybe not likes of, in terms of physicality and just sheer dominance in their presence. He's following in likes of Ronaldo, the likes of especially Zlatan. You can tell he's probably watched a lot of Zlatan to see what kind of goals he scored. Because that's what made Zlatan so famous. Not just how many goals, but the types of goals. Remember the 4-2 against England all them years ago?
Hey, that overhead, crazy.
I think he's definitely watched, those kind of goals and thought yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But he's a freak. The guy is a freak. And, at this age, he can only really get better. It's like he hasn't even reached his peak yet. But I don't know if he's going to reach it in the Premier League unless he goes to another club after just arriving at Man City.
Well, I guess that's the question. I mean, long term, where would he see himself? I think he's at the right place, the right club. He might actually be the one that helps deliver their first Champions League trophy. I personally still want it to go to Paris, for many reasons. But I just think I would just like that. But we'll see how it pans out. I think they're going to definitely be there again, there and thereabouts. Semi-finals minimum, I think, Man City. I think 100%. City, Paris Saint-Germain. I think Madrid will I think they'll be there and thereabouts.
Can't knock Madrid. Can't really knock Madrid.
I think those three teams will be the three semi-finalists, and it'll be up to someone else to join them. Whoever wants to be that's up to them. But I think he has taken the league by storm. We knew he would be good, but we didn't know he'd be this good. And it's quite fascinating to see. But
unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
We'll see as the weeks go on how much further that goes. I guess to wrap things up, we had the game against Liverpool. That was, I think, Arsenal have arrived. But the game against Tottenham, that's the one for me where my heart was like, finally they're going to get put back in their place. But
and they did.
And don't get me wrong, Tottenham, they're not far behind Arsenal. They're 5 points behind us right now.
4 or 5 points, yeah.
If they'd won the North London derby, it would have been down to 1. So it just goes to show, even as well as Arsenal performing this season, the gap is, there's not really a gap between the top 5 teams right now. It will start to show eventually, but it's not there right now. But that game, I think, was the league starting to take notice. Oh, Arteta's actually building something interesting here. I know Tottenham don't always win at the Emirates, so the reality is that the away leg at the
Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah, I was going to call it the Toilet Bowl, but the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, aka the Toilet Bowl.
It's a toilet bowl.
It does look like one. Come
really
on, man.
They
could have just tweaked the design a little bit. But anyway,
flowers on it.
do you know what I mean? I think that's going to be the real game. we beat them at their ground, then I would say, yeah, we've definitely pulled that whole power shift nonsense and put it to bed. But like, looking back on that game, I think what was really fascinating for me is just how much the Arsenal players wanted it. We played with this kind of contained, like there was aggression in our play, but it wasn't ever boiling over. It's a derby game, and you could see that. Obviously, Emerson Royale kind of took it too far with this red card. But you could see that there was intensity there, but it wasn't like malicious. It was like professional. This is business. We don't like you lot, and we're going to prove it and win it. Yeah. For you, looking at those two games, the Liverpool game, and then of course there's the derby against Tottenham.
Yeah.
Do you feel like now, with those 2 wins in the belt for Arsenal, this is now the time when the league and maybe just general pundits should take a step back and say, okay, they may not win the league this season, but they are challenging for the league this season?
Well, let's be honest. If you beat Spurs and Liverpool in any season, or if you take any kind of points off them, it's always a good result. We'd say the same if it was Bournemouth, Brighton or Leeds. So if you do it, considering where you've been for the past how many years, knocking on that door, and especially now you're banging on that door with a blooming, battering ram, whatever it is, like, they're not scalps to be ignored. Let's not pretend that they're playing teams like that and taking points from them doesn't mean anything. It's a massive statement. But people, you go find that a lot of people will try and be like, oh, let's see him beat City. Let's see him beat this. Let's see him beat Liverpool. Oh, wait. Let's see him beat City. Oh, wait. Palace did that and they still finished way below them. Way, way below. Yes, it's early in the season, but it's a good indication for where your intentions are right now. Even if you don't end up winning the league. Let's say if you finish 4th or 3rd, it's still for you a very, very good season, because I think your big shove lies in the Europa. I think your bread and butter is the league, but I think the league-wise, you're one of the more solidified favourites to finish in that top 4 at least. So if we're knowing that, I think, providing injuries and everything stays on your side and the World Cup stays on your side, go out there and just bag in the Europa League. Show, absolutely just go there and bag it. But, congratulations congrats, respect has to be shown where it is. You're playing a good game. Your players are, they're on song, and the new players have kind of like made some of your more, your more players have been there a little bit longer. They kind of brought about an improvement. You couldn't have told me that where Xhaka was 3 years ago, swearing at the fans, he's now come around to almost being like a fan favorite, like the prodigal son, like the forgotten hero sort of thing. Almost like he's remembered how good he was when he first played at Basel. And if I found out he's only 30, he's still young in a way, and to have such a burden on your shoulders, captaining that team as well as the Swiss team. But him losing the captaincy was the right thing. I think he's a thing off his shoulders. I don't think he really wanted that responsibility. But
he is our vice captain. He is our vice captain now, and in many ways, Martin Odegaard is the club captain.
Yeah,
Gabriel Jesus and Xhaka are the vice captains. For me, the leader of that team is Xhaka.
Yeah,
I think all 3 of them are the leaders in different ways.
Considering last season you couldn't even get one.
Yeah, wow. And the ironic thing is, like, last year, I think there were even games when he could have taken the armband. You could see there was a hesitancy for him. I think by the end of the season, he did wear it on a couple of games, but there was a hesitancy to take it. He'd rather just give it to someone else, even when Odegaard was taken off the pitch. But I'm glad that relationship's been rebuilt. I'm glad that
massively
the manager was able to speak to him and give him a different perspective on this game. I'm glad that, after speaking to his wife and his family, decided to stay. I'm also glad that the fans have been willing to be wrong and to forgive and to see. And I say the fans, let me not say the fans universally, because there's a lot of fans that have been strong supporters of Granit Xhaka and have not really
jumped on the bandwagon.
And also who've seen the elements of his game that we're seeing now, that's always been there, and have felt like some of this revisionism of his game's evolved is a bit excessive, and that he's always had the elements to his game. It's just that the role he had was just too all-encompassing. He was asked to do too much. And now that he has a very defined role, and even the fact that, just looking back to the Liverpool game, there were times when he was playing his normal position, which is as an attacking 8. So, asked to attack the box and get in there as like a supporting player to kind of help add the pressure. He was playing left wing at times. Then he was tucked in next to Partey. At one point, he was playing left back. That's what, 4 different positions in one match, which have different roles, different specificities, but he was doing it all seamlessly.
Yeah.
Very intelligent player.
Because he hasn't got that pressure on him no more. He's like, it's almost like he's free to do a little bit more of what he knows that he can do, because he's able to rely on the rest of the team to go ahead and do their thing against a Liverpool team that was fighting for the league only a few months ago.
Yeah.
With new additions as well. So it's a teller to how confident you're doing, right now. Who's your next game against?
Next game we have is Leeds away on Sunday.
I mean, that's always going to be a hard game. Trust me, we know. But I like to think if we went there now with how we're playing, I think we'd win. We should have won that game back in August, but mentality was at an all-time low. But our mentality is slowly, like how yours is improving. So if there is a setback, we're able to recover a little bit more. So
I think that's the key thing. I think what you've just said there, I think that exemplifies the way how Arsenal have rebuilt things under Arteta. It's like when you've had a setback, how do you move forward? Last season was a setback in not making it to Champions League. Now, everyone has different perspectives on it. Some people say it was ahead of time for the club, but the opportunity was there. We didn't do what we needed to do. We didn't make the investments. I think the good thing is we made the right investments this summer. We haven't made all of them. And so I do think that as a fan base, we need to, as much as things are going really well and we're happy, there's actually a point that Terry Flowers made on his, I was listening to one of his videos earlier today, and he made a really good point about, not being complacent. And as fans, we need to keep the pressure on. So even though things are going really well, keep the pressure on, keep demanding the high standards, keep demanding more recruitment if we need it, keep demanding things. We didn't get that holding midfielder back up for Partey. And so far, it hasn't cost us. So far. And the good thing is there's not too many games between now and the World Cup. And it does feel like we're managing the squad to the World Cup and keeping the performances up. But that was a position that we need to address in January. We don't really have backup for Saka or Martinelli. Nelson played today. First 60 minutes, he looked okay. And I have a lot of faith in Nelson to step in and be that next emerging star for the club. But we still need to get that player. Even if it is going to be him, we still need that other player to kind of help come in alongside them. So that's the key two positions that we didn't strengthen that we need to.
World Cup's going to be like a nice advertising for who's out there.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great break.
January will follow quite quickly. So
and I think also with the way our Arsenal are performing right now, like other players who may have felt, I'm not sure about the project, I'm not sure about the club, you might look back and think, actually, you know what, they're moving places. They're playing really well. It's exciting football. It's in London. Manager knows what he's doing. I like the plan. The players seem happy. I might let me take a chance on it.
And it's in London. And it's trendy. Nice shirt for Carnival.
Great shirt for Carnival. So so I think all these little things to feeding together. But I think we'll call it a wrap there. Thanks everyone for listening. Obviously we've got some more games coming up this weekend. Will Erling Haaland score again? Another hat trick. God, we don't want that, but he can get one. Liverpool, you know the score. United, keep doing whatever it is you're doing. Like, just keep the pressure on. Tottenham, you know what time it is. You don't have to win anymore. It's okay. And Chelsea, another 3 points would be nice.
Keep it up.
And boys. Arsenal, let's get that 3 points against Leeds and keep on marching on in this fun fairy tale season. And who knows how it will end. This is us signing up for One Kick from Glory. Let us know what you think about Erling Haaland, how you feel about Arsenal start to the season. Do you think there's a potential Leicester fairy tale season, or are Arsenal fans being deluded? Is it a return to the 01-02 season, or is it 07-08? Let us know. And if you know what that means, you know what that means. Until next time.
Safe.